everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. Not really a happy Wednesday. We are acting as if from the outside in. We missed everybody last week. We're happy to be here with you this week. Pat, my friend, how are you?
Yeah, so I'm going to give the preface to everybody in the audience. We are probably going to have some technical difficulties during the show. There's a decent chance of that. I had literally 3 computers all blew up on me, and we're look, 15 minutes before show, I got this one to work. So
yeah. It will be the least tragic event of the past week. So you'll bear with us, but we apologize in advance. We're just having a few technical difficulties.
Chaos.
But we're gonna get there.
How's your week? I know you were
2 weeks. 2 weeks we haven't been here.
Yeah, you were on vacation. I mean, I know nothing happened in the world, but how was your trip?
I know. It was really nice. I was with my brother and my mom back east. We had a great time. We had a great time. And I got back late last night, and that's also part of it. Pat's taking the lion's share of the sorry. And I think I'm allergic to my house. I had none of this stuff that I always think is from my mask, but it's all back. I'm allergic to something in this house because I wore a mask like every single day for a long time when I was back east. But anyway, very happy to be back with my husband and Xander and our crazy dog, and to be here with all of you because boy, do we need community now more than ever. How were your 2 weeks, Pat?
Honestly, nothing that's going to add to anyone's cheer or delight. It's not the best 2 weeks for me over here, but you know, I still got my beer. I got my lovely cat, which hates me and loves me. Wakes me up every day at 6 a.m., even though I don't get up until 8 a.m. most days. And
I think she could sleep in the other room.
Wakes me up attacking that part of my body I can't discuss on air usually through a thin fleece, a very thin fleece.
God.
And I don't know how to stop that because I'm asleep when it happens, you know. So there's that.
I want to address this, but Saul, I think you might be right. I actually think there might be like some weird mold outside my house. Just saying hi to everybody.
That's interesting.
I know. I was thinking that. I wish you would put Strike in the other room when you slept.
But then it'd be a nightmare, you know, it'd be mew mew all night and that kind of stuff. So
you get a noise machine and you get earplugs. It'd be like you're sleeping next to Josh.
But see, I have always, when you live in a small socialist apartment like mine with the walls so thin,
yeah.
That means my neighbors would have to listen to my cat screaming on top of her lungs. So
it's
see.
Like, all right. All right.
Well, I'm a very smart guy. So I also put the tree tower right next to where I sleep every night.
Oh my God.
Not only is there a little bite attack claws on me.
Yeah.
There's jumping off the tree on top of me. That's the landing zone.
That I feel like you could put in another space. I definitely did. Hi, Zaina. I see you're saying that. And yes, I know everybody does too. And I thought this was the remnants of the COVID that I tested out of and everything. That I just thought, I haven't fully recovered, even though I've been fine. And then I was in Cincinnati for 6 days and I had none of this. And now the second I come back, it feels the same. I don't know. Anyway, so boring. Who cares? The smallest violin can play for me. But there's a lot to talk about this week, and there's never enough time to do it. So maybe we should just start. What do you think?
I am all for starting. Let's get to the wheel here.
All right.
What we got?
Okay. What do we have?
Wait a minute.
We even have wheel issues. We got all different issues happening. Were you doing my wheel? That's funny. We're trying to do some redundancy. So if one of the studios freezes, the
No
other
wheel
one can pick
go
up the
down.
slack.
Wheel must go on.
But now I can't read the COVIDing for life. We got 2024.
Wait a
all
minute.
lose. Yeah.
We've got dead Dems, which doesn't belong.
Oh, dude, that's the wrong one. Look at that.
How did this happen? Wait, so what's the fourth category? Let's go with your will. Tell with it. Nope, it's on your will too.
All right. I don't know because I didn't have the graphic.
2024, COVID, fog of war. What was our other category?
Economy. All right, because we'll talk about some strikes.
Dead Dems equals the economy. Write it down for anyone that.
Okay. All right. So now you can put your thing back up and we'll spin it.
Dead Dems is the economy, people.
Don't anybody ever let it be said that we can handle this. Oh my God. So, in the interest of trying not to crash this week, I left all of the video files on my computer, hoping. Okay.
What she's doing is stalling.
I'm sharing one video at a time because I think that might have been what crashed my computer. Got a little timeline cleanse.
We've already discussed this week. We're going to have a little powwow session.
We're going to fix it.
In theory.
Look at that. If you're having a bad day, as we all are,
poor little
that's all.
Abby.
It's pretty much all you can do is look at your pets and drink a lot. All right, Pat, let's go back to that wheel.
Yeah, baby.
That is what we need right there. Thank goodness.
International language love.
For real. Oh my God, the cough is back. What the? Cheers. Peace. Solidarity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah, baby.
No, come on. Okay. All right. Getting to COVID, which, it is just amazing because there's just like one atrocity after another, whether it's like a climate disaster or 1,500 people dying every week. We're now, I think we're 7 weeks in a row now where new deaths have been between 1,400 and 1,500 people a week.
And
no one is talking about it.
I can't turn on the news without catching an interview, nothing related to COVID, where they're asking, so while we had COVID or during COVID, how did you handle this? Or now that we're post-COVID, like, people are insane.
1,500 people a week.
Yeah, third leading cause of death still.
And you cannot find those numbers anywhere except for this account is great. There are a few small accounts, who have COVID cautious people following them. There is no national way of collecting all the data in one hub. The best resource we had was BioBot and the wastewater testing. They pioneered it. They won a major Time Magazine award. In 2019, the CDC had no budget for wastewater intelligence. 2020, 2021, they increased it to 2.5 million. Just this past week, they increased it because it is so necessary to 275 million, but they canceled it with the people who actually not invented it, but like pioneered it. And now they are putting that money to Alphabet, which is Google. So that's what we're doing.
If you want to have a conspiracy, that's very fucking fishy.
I mean,
you're funneling a crap load of money to a tech company who is part of suppressing discourse around COVID already via YouTube.
Yeah. Yep. That is what's happening. It is all, and this is why all these conspiracy theories grow, because you look at that, Anyway, okay, so those are the numbers. That's where we are. The newest thing, COVID deaths are on the rise again. We're not mask wearing, but we're hiding data. Basically, if you don't like reality, change the record. That's where we are right now. Nobody's talking about it. I was in the hospital with my mother. Nobody was wearing masks except the two of us. Nobody. On the plane, there was maybe 3 of us total. It's insane. I went to the symphony. There was my brother, my mother, and I were wearing it, and maybe 2 other people. I mean, I don't know what people are doing. We know that it mimics AIDS in so many ways because it dysregulates your T cells. It hurts your immune system, opening you up to all sorts of cardiovascular organ disease. They are now saying that it affects your frontal lobes. We need a left frontal lobe to think through the steps of getting something done and to anticipate the consequences that may follow. So, you know, there was something last year where they said it affects the part of your brain that makes you
the risk of.
Yeah. And so a lot of people who had COVID, like I was thinking it was just because they were assholes and they're like, well, I've had it. So now I'm just going to, you know, be done with trying to take any preventative steps. But apparently it actually does affect the part of your brain that calculates risks. Somebody, I think it might have been on the death panel, said, if you get COVID, you spread it. So like, that is something that I feel like so many people have forgotten what, you know, and somebody in the chat said when Trump comes back in, I think when Trump wins in 2024, they'll start talking about COVID again, which is probably true. But, you know, that idea of like pre-symptomatic spread, I don't want to give it to somebody because by the time you test positive, you have spread, unless you wear masks all the time indoors, which I do, except around my family, you've spread it. And how many people they've spread it to. I mean, that whole idea of like the bubble, everybody forgot about that because it's exponential, right? But people are like, well, it's just these 2 people who come into my house. Well, do those 2 people ever go out in public? Do they have children who go to school? Do those kids mask? You know, like all of those things are the cascading effects of expanding your bubble, and it's exponential and nobody talks about it anymore.
I mean, it's just gaslighting, you know, that so much of the public isn't following the details of this stuff closely. And they're just drained from 3 years of this stuff. And without a public message, when the public messages send your kids to school after 2 days, or you know, like
or don't test.
You got actual
don't
scientific doctors, but you know, you got alleged experts in the field saying, I wouldn't test, I wouldn't take the vaccine, I wouldn't wear masks, I would go to school sick.
I mean, the head of LAUSD said, if you have the sniffles, still come to school. There is not, like so many people are sick right now. There's no flu going around. That's one thing that BioBot wastewater confirmed. They can test. There's no flu going around. There's no summer flu. There's no September flu. There's no October flu. It is COVID. And now, not only is it not being reported, but the tests don't work for this new strain. Most of our tests have expired, even though they're like, oh no, we just changed that. Don't worry about it. You're not supposed to test now until the 4th day of symptoms, but we know that 60% of infections are passed by people who are either asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic. So there is just no way right now. The only way to be safe is to wear a mask indoors. Paxlovid, which I know we're going to show, but like, you know, they're going to increase by like 5 times the price, but it's not really effective unless you are at severe risk. We don't have tools. We have no tools. We're done.
And I mean, the most important thing for the general public to know that they don't know is that there's an acute phase where you get COVID and you're sick and then you get rid of it. And the vaccine helps you with that, helps you not die from that. It's pretty good at that. You should still get the vaccine.
Right.
The stuff about the vaccines killing you is 99% bullshit. It's
right.
You know, it's a consequence of them not being honest about it, that all this propaganda has driven up this anti-vax nonsense, right?
Right.
But regardless of that, the important part is that first part where you get sick is not the end of the story. The story is the damage that it's really doing to you with long COVID, which is not rare. It's extremely common when you look at millions of people
1 in
across
5.
the U.S. have it.
Between 1 in 5 and 1 in 10 infections, not people,
1 in 10,
infections.
Yeah, 1 in 10 infections for the same person is 1 in 10 chance every time you get infected that you're going to develop long COVID. And even the people that aren't developing any symptoms from this stuff, it's not clearing out of your body is the point. It's causing something that we don't know 5 years down the road what damage it's going to do. But we do know that excess deaths are through the roof in this country right now. And it's from COVID. It's because COVID is causing all these other parts of your body to
heart attacks,
functioning.
Cancer. Yeah, all of it. Yeah. So, and you know, right now I'm trying to get Novavax. We have appointments at Costco tomorrow, but all the places that they say, and that was a fight, right? Because of our FDA and CDC being wholly captured by Pfizer and Moderna. But finally, because of some great activists,
captured so much that Novavax was the most bet against stock on the market because everyone was betting that it wasn't going to get approved because our leaders are so beholden to big pharma that the two top donors, the Pfizer and Moderna, Wall Street
were lobbying against them.
They thought, oh, they're going to get locked out because our big pharma is so owned, you know.
Right.
And
exactly.
To our credit, we made this fight. It's completely illogical to not approve a vaccine that was safer for one.
Yep.
More
effective.
It's more effective against new variants. So new variants come up. It's an old traditional style vaccine. It's not an mRNA vaccine, which you would think with all the people that are just plain anti-mRNA from the new stuff who are like, no, the old vaccines are tried and true. You would think you would want to rush this one to market, rush it out there, get more people to take it. But anyway, the left fought, and this is a win that this is actually getting out to people.
It is. It still is very difficult to find it. There are 5 doses in each vial. And apparently a lot of pharmacies don't know that they can return unused vials or not completely used vials and get the full money back. So there's like a stockpiling and then being nervous to use it unless they have enough people coming in for the Novavax. It's kind of a mess of a rollout. The other thing is there are, I think, 2 different Novavax ones. Make sure if you get it that it's 2023, 2024. You can ask to see it. They've also done the same thing, and I know they've done this in the US, but you know this just happened in the UK. They gave 2.3 million vulnerable and older people, because those are the only ones who are allowed in the UK. I think you have to be 65 and over to get it in the UK. The old booster for mRNA. I mean, that's insane. That's enough to make people think, why would I go near any of that, right? And I mean, I know it happened here at the beginning where people like didn't get the full dose or they got the wrong dose or whatever it was. So, you know, you sort of have to be your own advocate. And I'm used to people not liking me, but I do always ask, like, will you please wash your hands? I'd like to see you unwrap that needle. I'd like to see the vial. So I know that, like, because like, what are we all doing?
I've spent the night at your house. Will you please put the toilet seat up?
Yeah, I love it. I love it when you stand to pee. And, all right. Anyway, so there's a bunch of stuff happening. The learning loss thing, they're going to keep pushing that because you can't escape the damage that it's doing to people's bodies. The long COVID, that's like massive, like millions. I think we have 4 to 8 million people who can't return to work because of long COVID. But they're going to try, this is the newest thing, thousands of COVID generation under 5s excluded from schools in England. Nearly half of them in some areas arrive unable to talk and still not potty trained as lockdown legacy takes its toll. Do you know how absurd that is? Where do you learn to talk? And you certainly don't get potty trained at school.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that entire article is bullshit. Like,
it's total bullshit.
Look, you could not have it. Look, there are huge benefits to like pre-kindergarten education. You know, that's been shown over and over again. That's how Head Start popped up and became sort of a national program. My mom she worked for Head Start. She was a teacher.
That's awesome. That's good.
Did stuff. But that kids at 5 aren't speaking and pooping correctly is just nonsense. And it's revisionist history because
anyway, it's so stupid.
This is all to prevent further protections should the public become aware of the actual risks. So they want to burn this stuff into people's heads that, oh, well, no matter what, it was better that my kid got to school, even if he got COVID 4 times.
Such a crazy, I know. Then this also, and I'm sure they're going to bring this out more, but apparently the average composite ACT scores have plummeted. I mean, it's hard to see, it's very faint, but they started plummeting in 2019, which is the last bottom date to the right. So it wasn't like it was so great then, but it has gotten even worse. There's so many reasons for that. Could it be that your parents lost their job and you're living out of a car, or that you were orphaned, or that you're so sick because it damages your frontal lobe and you can't, but they're just, I know they're going to trot that out also, right?
Or, I'm just spitballing, but the college, people are not looking to go to college. They're seeing how much debt the future generations are not as, they don't see the benefit of college like we used to. So, that in itself, when the younger generations become aware that opportunity does not exist like it used to go to college, that's going to tune a lot of high schoolers out of this, stay on this, strict path of perfect grades and perfect this and perfect that. Then they're seeing a government that doesn't care. They're seeing climate change and ending the world. We passed the point of, humanity's going to go extinct at some point. So it's understandable this generation is not getting the ACT scores, and you're looking at a 1.5, a drop of 1.5. It's
it's only out of 36 though, but I hear what you're saying. When I was growing up, I remember in first or second grade, they said something about how the sun would explode in 5 billion years. And that freaked me out. That something like that could be happening in 5 billion years. And now it's in 10 years. I don't even want to say it with my kid in the other room. It's just so horrifying. Of course he knows.
This is unrelated. But when I grew up, the killer bees were on TV. The killer bees were coming.
Right, yeah.
And I remember being freaked out because my best friend was a black kid named Arvin.
Right.
It's attracted to the color black. And I was so worried for years about my buddy Arvin that he was going to, be a target of these bees.
But yeah, all those things are terrifying. They're terrifying to me as an adult, but yes, you want to look towards your future with hope and dreams and not panic for your survival. This, I think, is interesting. They are now, and I read this when we got COVID, that's why we all wore masks around our dog, but COVID infection can damage the brains of dogs. So don't give your dog COVID.
Maybe that'll wake somebody up. Some Karen out there.
Yeah, somebody who cares more about the animals. What do you think? Should we move on? We got a lot. Is there anything else you want to say about COVID?
Let's see. What do we got? Kids with chicken pox.
Okay, so this to me is terrifying. In Belgium, children with chicken pox can go to school from now on because pre-symptomatic transmission exists. So symptomatic transmission should be allowed too, which is going to, of course, what we have been doing with COVID, which is we don't really know, it's going to happen anyway. Let it rip. And that is, instead of being more careful about everything, we're just going to decrease protections for everything.
Well, and this is a kind of a good example in a way, because chicken pox, if you don't know, it attaches to your spine. It's a nervous disorder. Disorder is not the right word. Nervous disease, whatever. But it comes out as an adult many years later, decades later, as shingles.
Right.
So it's phase 2 of chicken pox, more or less. Right. And so we're giving kids not just chicken pox, we're giving something that's going to weaken their whole fucking immune system. And we don't know the 10-year outcome of this at all. Scientists that tell you they know, they do not know at all. This with AIDS, it took forever for them to realize the 10-year effect of AIDS.
That's right. Yeah, we are still at the very beginning of this novel coronavirus. So take it seriously, as I know everybody does who watches this, but it's just so incredibly frustrating. because, you know, that thing of like, oh, you're such a sheep for wearing a mask. Like, we're the only ones. The people who are COVID cautious are the exact opposite of sheep. You know, it is, again, the ultimate gaslighting. And then, of course, Stephen Colbert just got it again. LaFonza Butler just got it, our new California senator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting it. All these concerts are getting canceled. All the frontline worker groups are short-staffed. You know, any organization that needs a frontline worker, which is healthcare, which is
delivery people, grocery stores. I mean, all of that.
It's an opportunity for all the striking workers because this shortage is not going away anytime soon. In fact, it's only going to get exacerbated and much, much worse.
Yeah.
Because we're not doing anything about it, and you're just increasing the population that's unable to work.
Right. Yeah. Yes. All right. Yeah, I need to find some more. How do we get up our? I'm going to get rid of these. I know we're like living in lean times here. I'm going to get rid of these graphics so I can upload some cute timeline cleanses that might give us some joy.
Do your business. I'll put up the wheel and talk and read some comments and stall.
There you go. Let's read some comments. If only we had a what's the thing called that everybody has? A tip jar. What's the other thing?
We could be making money on our time off when our technology is failing us.
I know. What are we doing?
You got your shingles vaccine? So I actually got shingles as a young college kid, which is extremely rare. But I had stayed up. I was I wouldn't say terrible student. I was a lazy student. So I would stay up and cram for tests just days at a time. And I got shingles, and let me tell you, it sucks. It's like getting attacked from an alien. It's like the shingles that's in your spine fights through all your muscle tissue to come out on the skin on your surface. And it forms an actual pattern that's very clear. So they say you have the T version, the L version. It just depends on where it attached to your nervous system. But it sucks. It's like, and then your skin becomes this like alien scab. It's just
that's horrible.
So don't get it is my point.
Do not get it.
And it comes out from stress because it's in your nervous system. So I was extremely stressed.
I'm never stressed, so I'm fine.
From not sleeping like 3 days in a row to make up for not studying for 6 months, basically.
That's terrible.
So did I kill enough time?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. All right, let's do it.
What are we doing? I thought you were pushing.
I thought you were spinning. Oh wow. Okay, we're saving the really heavy for the latest. Well, coming as a shock to absolutely no one. Here is the matchup. This is the swing state matchup. Okay, Trump versus Biden. Arizona, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina. Trump wins.
Somehow this chart tells me that they're going to make Pennsylvania out to be the most important state.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's ahead by 1%.
1%. And everywhere else he's losing except for Michigan, where he's tied. Now, and this is so interesting. If you add in RFK Jr., I very difficult to read. Pennsylvania is still tied. North Carolina, Michigan, Georgia. Now, okay, so when you add RFK Jr. in, even though I think a lot of us, myself included, I thought that RFK would actually take away from Trump. From this, it looks, but it looks like that then Trump would beat with RFK in the mix on this, which doesn't include Cornel West. Why? But then Trump wins all of the swing states.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a variance in polling, but basically RFK drags a teeny bit more from Trump because he gets more Republicans and independents than he gets Democrats, which is a pox on his house if you're an RFK Jr. supporter.
Yeah.
Like his entire audience is the people that didn't recognize that Tulsi is a fucking phony right-wing grifter.
Right. Exactly.
And then they,
the rage against the war machine people.
If you're on the left and you support him, like 99%, it's because the anti-vax stuff. And that, that might have made his anti-war appeal believable to you.
Right.
But if you followed his history and know anything about him as a person, he's not even anti-war. He's just anti-Ukraine. One war.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But he is
why is that the
crazy
one
with Israel? Yeah.
It's the one because it was politically expedient for him to do it.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So here's, I think, very interesting in light of what's happening in the Middle East. There will be a non-insignificant number of Arabs, Muslims, and young voters who sit out 2024 or vote for Cornel West instead of Joe Biden in states like Michigan and Georgia, given his near one-sided support of Netanyahu's far-right government's atrocities. I think that's dead on. Young people are not behind this war. They are not supporting Israel's genocide. They've been let down by, they showed up for Biden in a way that they had never done before. And they've been let down one issue after another, one promise after another that he's broken. But I have a feeling this is the final straw. This is just appalling.
So you got young voters made the difference, black voters made the difference, and the people that thought Trump, he would handle COVID, at least a little bit better than Trump. And he's just made it all go away without making it go away. So you got those three constituents that are not going to enthusiastically vote for him. Now you can convince some of them at the end of the day that the other side is so fucking bad. But voter enthusiasm, which means like, I may want to vote for Joe Biden because I think he's just a smidge better, but it's raining outside. So I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go do it. So that stuff matters in the long run. Voter enthusiasm is
absolutely
people jumping through the hoops, not going to work so they can go vote, things like that.
And he never had that, right? There's that whole campaign like stuck with Biden or hold your nose and vote for Biden. That was actually like a push
that was a
by
campaign
Democrats. In 2020. And it's only gotten worse. And as you said, there's so many issues that he's to the right of Trump on.
So add up those factors we were just talking about, and then throw in the Ukraine war, which they're already whispering about getting away from, leaving. So even if you support the Ukraine war, that's gonna rub those people wrong. The people that are like, we should be fighting Ukraine, they're gonna say, well, fuck, we fucked up Ukraine.
Right.
The people that were against from the start, okay, whatever, you're already against them. Ukraine.
Right.
Then you got us dragging into a new war in Palestine. In Israel, Palestine.
Against Gaza, yeah.
So you got a whole nother war, and people are, for the first time, this part I don't understand. The media is actually showing some of the atrocity. They're being unbalanced with it, but they're showing it, which is new, and that has woken a lot of people up. So
I think,
So that, and while we fund this, he's got $100 billion bill. Well, we're not even getting into that yet. But so he's doing all that. We're putting all this effort into all this other stuff while things are so bad here. And he's telling us the economy is great and people are not feeling like the economy is great. He's a mess. He could lose to Trump in prison at this point.
I think, and I don't know where this is. I thought I had added it that you sent me, but I think he's at historic all-time low approval rating, just himself.
Yeah, 37%, which is his lowest, I believe, or close to it.
Okay, so this was another one, and this was again on the heels of it's been ongoing for some decades now, but it's of course really ramped up. Israel against Palestinians. I'm not voting for genocide, Joe. I can't imagine any Black, Indigenous, or person of color watching genocide through their phone screens backed by his administration and going, oh yeah, Joe Biden's going to stop encouraging fascism. I think that's 100% correct, as we were just saying. But this was even before, this was a few days ago, and you're, oh my gosh, we're never going to be able to read this so far. It's so small. But anyway, there was the black turnout in a Louisiana special election was really small. What Elie Mystal was saying, and he, I mean, he's like progressive, but basically he always will come out to support the DNC candidate in the end. But what he is saying is you can say Trump is worse. It's just not having an effect with the groups of people who are the buffers on the margins that separate a Democratic win from a Democratic loss.
Right. And I really think that the Palestine war, whatever you want, genocide, it's an issue that gives people permission to not vote for Biden. That one issue alone, because, say what you will about Trump, he got us in less wars. And
I mean,
he didn't fight the military industrial complex, but
not at
just
all.
His chaosness, his selfishness.
I think his chaos, and also it was very transactional, right? So like,
what does he get out of it?
Yeah, like he would rather go hug Kim Jong. Oh God, I'm going to say it wrong now. That's just affected me. North Korea. He'd rather be pals with them or with Saudi Arabia or whatever it is. And as repulsive and disgusting as he is and as that is, Biden still cozies up to dictators. But I think a certain segment while he's like stoking war with other ones. Yes, sorry.
But I think when you analyze it from a political, just a 2024 punditry election kind of thing, like what are the voters thinking? They're looking at Biden and they're looking at wars and they're looking at funding all that, and they're looking at Trump didn't do all that. And if you look at the genocide and you really follow that story, your heart is going to break for the Palestinians. And you're seeing this guy not doing that, and you're thinking, maybe I don't like Trump. I won't vote for Trump. I mean, I never will personally. I'm just saying as a voter.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be enthusiastically voting for Joe.
Right.
If any of those main issues hit you, and that is the formula for a loss.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And you're not holding a primary. You're not holding a primary when 70% of the country says he shouldn't be running. He's not fucking mentally there.
Well, in this point, RFK Jr. just went independent. You've got Marianne Williamson, who's gotten absolutely no traction, and Cenk Uygur, who I don't know what the hell's going on there. So,
Cenk Uygur is running for presidency, even though the Constitution says he can't. And he thinks he has a slam dunk case to win the permission to run for presidency, which has to be ruled on by a conservative Supreme Court to give him that power. If you give Cenk $1, you are an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. The only thing I would say, and I can't stand him, but I think he has a more forceful voice and will be saying many of the same things as Marianne Williamson, right? He'll be saying the sort of progressive things. And then his hope, I mean, it's also ridiculous, but is that then when it comes down to it at the end, he does not, I mean, he doesn't want Trump to win, but then you fight for concessions.
Okay, but let me tell you.
No, I mean,
Cenk hasn't gotten any attention other than negative attention on Twitter outside of people who watch TYT. The media has not mentioned him a single fucking time. And they will not, other than to laugh at him and repeat the Constitution back to him that he is not entitled to run. So he will not have an opportunity in a debate with Joe Biden ever to have this discussion. And even if the Democrats open things up and we as leftists forced a debate on this issue, we forced primary debates.
Right.
They're still going to exclude him. He's not going to get into the primary debate. So it's going to be Marianne, and they'll throw a whole bunch of pro Joe Biden people in there with Marianne to make Marianne the lunatic on stage.
Yeah. They'll ask her about her crystal balls and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. No, 100%. It's going to be a total shit show. Okay, here we are. Support for third U.S. political party is up to 63%, which is amazing. We haven't talked about Cornel West changing to independent, leaving the Green Party. There's so much happened in these past 2 weeks, but we didn't even talk about that because it already feels like old news. But that is interesting to me. It's an interesting decision. I don't know what was going on in the Green Party that made him feel he had to pull away. I think possibly some of his messaging they were not wholly endorsing, and he maybe had to go through more hoops than he thought he would, even though he said he was running in the primary in the Green Party. But I also think, I'm wondering what running as an independent, how that helps, because now he and RFK Jr. are both running as independent. So it doesn't give any like extra weight to an actual third political party. I know he said that there are in some states there are fewer barriers to cross to get your name on the ballot, which is true. But then there's no, like, if the hope is, hey, let's get another thriving party, wouldn't that be great? This doesn't do that. It feels a little untethered, but I don't know. It feels like it will hurt the Democratic nominee less if he's not running in the Green Party.
I mean, I don't know about torn, but I'm like, look, I want to put everything I have behind Cornel West because in the field right now, he is the best option by far. Like, it's not.
Oh my God. Close. Yeah.
I mean, I can support what Marianne says most of the time. She's not going to do it. She's going to cave immediately to all the pressure of the Democratic Party. Were she to win, but she's not even being allowed debates.
Right.
I don't know what's her plan to force debates? I don't see it. I don't like, how is she forcing debates?
Oh, she has no plan. She's just lying. So, I mean, she just goes on TV and says it's not.
So she's not going to even get to the point to where there's a debate with Joe Biden on the issues, which is how you push him left, which is the whole point of debates and the primaries, is that at least we get them to fake believe the stuff we believe because they need to win our votes on those issues. But so West, I mean, he's a great man, I think, right? I really do. I think he says what we need to hear. He believes it. He's a true virtuous man, but you have to run a political campaign to win the votes of people that don't care about who he is and his history. And he started out with the wacky fucking movement for a People's Party, moved to Greens and left Greens, and now he's running independent. So it's like he's already, like, those two steps alone it will be enough to make
him like, oh, you're not ready to lead a country if you can't even lead your campaign. Like, they're going to spin all those things, right?
That alone. And put that aside, there is the ballot issue. Like, the Greens are on the ballots in
30 or something,
15, 30,
18, 30. I know there's always different numbers.
And so his argument is that he can get on those states faster without them. But I don't see the effort to get him on the ballots in these states. That I just don't see it happening. So anyway, I don't know.
I mean, it's disappointing, especially because if you come out of the gate as an independent, it would feel different. But as you said, starting with the People's Party, that was a crazy choice just from the get-go. Then leaving them, going Green. Okay, now it's his like third party or third slot. It just feel like, why didn't you think about this before you said you wanted to be the leader of the free world? You know, it's a little
Anyway, look, I'm still going to be behind him. I think he's the best option we have. There's always the chance that there's so much anti-war. Ukraine's going to be a disaster in 6 months. The Israeli-Palestine war is going to be a mess. We're going to draw in Ukraine, Iran. The U.S. is going to be a clusterfuck of reasons to
anything could
not
happen.
vote for Joe Biden. So anything is possible. Who the fuck knows? But I mean, I'm not going to give the guy money. But if you have a lot of money and you just want to give it to somebody, give it to him.
Well, listen, Hillary's out here just warning us that Putin will definitely do it again. It's so funny that they trot this out and think anybody will take it seriously. Like, the midterms went well, so apparently Putin was not active. Biden won 2020, so again, Putin not active. But, you know, we got it all lined up just in case it doesn't go the Democrats' way. It's going to be Putin again. Ridiculous. All right.
It kills me.
Yes.
I mean, I think we all have a little bit of PTSD. We're sort of triggered by like Hillary stuff.
Oh,
But like,
yeah.
does it have to go on forever? Do we have to hear
Forever.
this shit about 2016 and the
Oh my
Russians?
God.
Even though like it's been debunked. My theory on it is they just bring this stuff up to tire us out and make us just fucking blow our heads back so much we're just sick of it and we just burn out on this stuff.
I mean, it does get there a little bit sometimes. I'm feeling it. Although if anybody ever wants to, criticize Hillary or whatever, I'm all in for that because I will forever live in those moments of 2016. I got to tell you.
I don't even want to. I just hate it. I just
I know. I hear you.
But what it is, you have to start over. You have to go back and make all the arguments you made for the last 8 years against her. And it's like, none of it brings us forward because it's just relitigating the Bernie bro shit.
Exactly. And like, I'm not like, yeah, I know.
Like I'm not, we're not committed to the Bernie bro shit.
I don't need to defend
the Bernie who says
anymore.
that. So that
yeah, I know. I don't wear my Bernie tank tops anymore. That was a really big one. I took all the signs down. It took me longer than most. Not because of him specifically, but because I just had so much hope in the beginning, 2019, beginning of 2020. I had so much hope and solidarity with so many people. And now everybody's just dispersed. Everyone hates each other. And it just felt like a time. But now, yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
all right. Yeah.
Seeing us all split apart on COVID and not use that opportunity to fight for Medicare for all. Yeah. Like, how do you miss the most obvious thing in front of the whole entire world? Like leftists are just like, it's a pandemic isn't enough to get us all united on healthcare. Like, you want to talk about the squad being worthless. Like, if you can't take 7 or 8 or 9 or however many you consider part of the squad and leverage this moment to like, okay, this is going to be our issue. We're going to just tell people the pandemic is still happening and real. We're going to just be honest about the science of the pandemic so we can get Medicare for all. Yep. But they can't even, they're just going to co-sign Biden the entire way. So anyway, whenever I said I was not a fan of the fraud squad stuff or just, it wasn't for me.
Right.
It works now. It fits to me.
Yeah. Oh, they're 100%.
They're trash. I mean, it's not even like debatable.
There's just no doubt about it. They have done absolutely nothing except use that as a brand. It's just a brand exercise and vibes. It has nothing to do with the reality of anything they have accomplished or have tried to accomplish. I wouldn't even
every day
fought for it. Yeah.
With the fight for the Speaker of the House. Every day we see what the fringe fucking nutties on the right get. They're getting so much. Everything goes their way. Every piece of legislation that comes out of Republicans now has the fingerprint of the 6 or 7
caucus or whoever those crazies are.
The Freedom Caucus.
Yep.
But the left with the public support. See, these right people don't even have the public support for their nutty fucking views.
Yep.
The left has the mighty fucking leverage of the truth and the honesty and
also public support.
A fucking thing. They won't speak up. They're worthless.
There's no money in it. And I think that's a huge difference. If you are truly on the left, you are not getting sponsored by any of the big lobby people. And I really think that ends up being the difference because all the wackadoos on the far right are still getting funded by the Koch brothers and the Brownstone Institute. And what they're doing still helps the capitalist class. So they still,
but this is the problem. And I don't want to get to where we don't support the most leftist people we can get because that's something. But all those squad people do get funding. They get funding because people like us historically have backed them, hoping just please fucking be leftists. Please do something.
Right.
But they've failed miserably, and not by poor strategy, which for the longest time it's just like, well, it's poor strategy. Well, they think they're getting something internally. Well, we don't know. Maybe no, they don't give a fuck. They're co-signing Joe Biden 100%.
I think they're all in for their career.
But we're funding them.
But we're not anymore, I think. I mean, liberals are now, but like I think they have to work way less hard to get liberals to fund them. Plus, it's easier when they show up to work. And if they're constantly having to fight and win over the left who want to hold them accountable for why we put them in office, that is much harder than just going along to get along, clap for Hakeem Jeffries, vote for Mama Bear Pelosi, and the money will roll in much more easily for them. It will finance their campaigns. They get to be on Vogue. They get to go to the Met Gala. You know, they're going to have very different.
Every time they pretend to be left on even a teeny thing, they get shit on and publicly declared as the most evil person in the world, like the most timid support for Palestine. And they're the devil. So, but they'll still get their money. They'll still be able to sleep at night and tell their friends they're the most progressives in Congress and
sadly,
doing what they can.
That's how sad it is. We've got a spectrum that's that big. Yeah,
they are, but they weren't elected to be the most left. They were elected to be left.
Yeah,
they're not even remotely left.
100%. All right, let's spin it. We need to move on to another happy topic.
You don't want to hear me being mad for longer?
Oh, buddy, I can do that.
Yeah, baby.
What is that? Hey.
There we go. There we go.
Look at me running the tech here, shrinking it down to nothing.
You, I know that wheel. We gotta find ourselves a new wheel. All right, what do we have? We have this lady.
I'm saving you. I'm saving you. I'm saving you.
Who's that? Squirrel?
I'm saving you. Let me save you. Thank you.
What? Oh my God, that would be me. I'm not good with the rodents. It looked like a big rat that probably was a squirrel, which is really just a rat with a bushy tail, but I would not be in the water with that. What?
I would have no fear.
Yeah.
Although I would probably scream like a little girl or something and get caught on video. Sorry, little girls.
I can do spiders. I can do cockroaches. I can do reptiles, but rodents freak me out. All right, let's see. What do we got? What do we got next?
Let me fix this. Look, hey, there we go.
Is that driving you crazy?
Yeah, baby.
How do we not have a shot yet?
I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, Pat. Asleep at the wheel. Look at that. Plus.
Now you're talking.
Now I'm talking. I called an audible, which last time I think I said I made an audible. But by the time I made my audible last time, I had already had quite a few shots. So I know how to say it. Believe me. All right. Cheers. I'm saving you.
Yeah, baby.
We've not even covered Israel yet. We haven't.
Not yet. Oh my God. Look at that. Look at that. We're going to need it for this.
We have a false topic on the wheel too still.
I know. Mess. Or mess. Today we're a little bit
killing it this week. Killing it.
Cheers.
But you know, my computer hasn't crashed yet. I think I just jinxed myself, but
why would you say that out loud? It's like, oh my gosh, we're so lucky there's no traffic. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh.
Oh my God. Oh Lord. Okay. Ooh.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, there's another shot. We're killing it. Now we're killing
Come on.
it.
Oh Lord.
This is why I keep staying podcasting right here.
I know, and I'm already so red. Okay. Maybe it will help my cough. I need to put some honey in my vodka. Oh my God. Oh, you removed it. All right.
Oh, we got one left. Well, yeah, you're right. Cheers.
I can always make an audible again. I'm kidding. It was a joke.
Yeah, baby.
What topic is this?
That's our economy. That's our economy and our and it's short. We're gonna go in there really fast. But we are gonna start with just an introduction to how the US is feeling.
Hey, I have a question. How are we like affording life right now?
It's to a point where people can't live. This amounted to $100. Like this isn't even barely anything to feed me for a couple days.
You're not budgeting your money. Oh, you're not doing this. Oh, you're buying coffee. And it's like, no, I'm literally not doing any of those things.
I live paycheck to paycheck every week because I'm trying to pay every bill that the world is throwing at me right now.
And the government's response to that is, oh, hey, everybody, aliens are real. We don't give a fuck about aliens. We're trying to afford a roof over our heads. I refuse to continue living my entire life like this. I'm not going to struggle my entire life.
I'm just really tired of like not being able to do the things that I want.
Prices on everything are up, from food, gas, rent. Instead of $60 to fill up your gas tank, it's $140. Instead of 99 cents for eggs, it's fucking $3. Rent's going from $3,000 to $5,000. All that shit adds up, and wages aren't going up fast enough.
Wages have gone nowhere. So what did most of us have to do, myself included, with the extra $400 a month I was spending on gas? I had to use my credit cards. Even with 3 jobs now, I'm not even gonna make a dent on those credit card bills. I seriously wanna know what the end game is, because soon we're not gonna have any money for anything anymore.
So why the fuck are we working so hard to make money for other fucking people to use and steal our income just for us to never see it?
I don't know what to do anymore. I don't. I just don't understand. At one point, I thought I had some sort of a purpose.
I'm working just to basically pay bills, just to survive.
Why can't we all collectively come together and agree that we just don't want to do this anymore? If our backs are their table, what do you think is going to happen when we stand up?
Yeah, there's a lot of pain right now.
I just tell you, like, my best friend is dying of cancer, right? You know, has been for a while. Worked, she's got, if lucky, a year left. She worked up until Monday. Monday was her last day at work. And she had to work, even though she had to use massive amounts of drugs to stay awake, to be able to do her job. And she's going to move away in a month so she can marry someone to have healthcare insurance, because there's no promise of anything, even with cancer and the best health. She has a great healthcare provider. She makes over $100,000 a year, and she's going to move away to Utah and be in a freezing state, cold as fuck, to marry somebody to have health care in her final last year. I mean, this country is fucked. So all these people with all this suffering, like, they're that bad before they have a health issue. And that's what most people don't understand, is that this country doesn't provide anything for people anymore. It's all just bullshit. People are, I got 10,000 homeless people within 10 miles of me.
Yeah, and like 40-50% of them have full-time jobs. No, it is atrocious. Our priorities are all in the wrong place. And I know we're about to get to it, but we have Biden saying he can afford 2 wars. And Stephanie Kelton saying there's no priority ever goes unfunded. If the votes are there, the money is there. But it's always just for war, or for huge tax breaks to the
$100 billion right now they're asking for 2 countries. When meanwhile, what is it, 40 billion or something
would solve
ends
homelessness
in the US?
Yeah.
Ends it.
Yep. No, it's horrible. And my brother-in-law has brain cancer. He, in the last 2 months, has had 2 brain operations, and he is now going back to work because he needs his health insurance. I mean, it's abysmal. And you save, you work your whole life. If you're lucky, you have savings. We have no savings, but if you're lucky, you have savings. But then your child gets sick, and so that's where that money goes. Like, there is just no social safety net, and that is not the way it is in other countries. It doesn't have to be that way here. It is a true pathology, a true sickness that the CEO class can never get enough. It will never, ever be enough. So,
and that's where that's the biggest issue. I mean, with the UAW workers, for example.
Yeah.
Like the UAW workers, they used to get pensions and they used to have a health insurance policy after they left work. Like you work for this company doing physical work that beats the fuck out of your body for 30, 40, 50 years.
Yep.
And the new workers don't get any coverage after they leave. That's it. There's no coverage. And I don't think people understand that has changed massively in this country. Like, you used to work and retire and have health insurance, and now you just have to go on Medicaid or Medicare.
Right.
And then they're privatizing that as we speak. So like, that's not. But if you're young, if you're not old enough to get on that, and you have something that disables you, you're fucked. You won't even get that.
And then again, this goes back, I mean, it shouldn't have to, but like, goes back to COVID, where this mass disabling event with no healthcare system for everybody. Yeah. And by the way, I mean, a lot of doctors and nurses, it's all wrapped up together, because a lot of doctors and nurses who didn't die now do have long COVID. So they're depleting the medical staff of every hospital in this country, as they're also defunding. We don't have enough hospital beds, we don't have enough medicines, we don't have cancer medicine, the couple of drugs that we do have don't work, they're overpriced. And instead of paying people to go to school to be doctors, because that would help all of us, they have to go in enormous amounts of debt and then live through that. Like, I mean, we have just set up a system that is not at all encouraging people to be part of a community in this country.
After COVID, we're not after COVID. Sorry, I'm using their language. But we saw from COVID how poorly healthcare workers were treated, how they were on TV all the time screaming about how miserable conditions were. And nothing fucking changed. Nothing fucking changed.
No.
Meanwhile, we could put in a healthcare system, Medicare for all, or some version of it that costs less for this country.
It costs less
and takes care of all the people, all of them, everybody. Yep. And we can't fucking do that. So what you have is people working until like they're almost dead.
Yeah.
Because they have to.
Yep.
They literally have to.
And then it's always plugged as like a feel-good story, inspirational story that this 92-year-old man went back to work as a greeter at Walmart. That's not inspirational. That is a country in massive decline.
Yeah, but when he has to walk to work, somebody bought him a car, and that's a feel-good story right there.
Look at that. Look at that.
Bought him a fucking piece of shit Chrysler American-made car or something,
All right, a couple more economy issues that are a little bit happy, although I'll just quickly go through the couple that aren't, which is right now the U.S. housing market is so expensive that incomes would have to spike 55% for it to be considered affordable. This is, the propaganda. Yeah. Quit my sales job to live in my Toyota Camry. The simpler life has helped me find happiness. We should all live in a car. Awesome.
Yeah, I love camping. I'm not going to write a story about how much camping has saved my life because, you know, living in a car or camping, if you have a health issue, you're fucked. So,
I mean, we shouldn't even to even engage at that level is like, come on, of course not. However, UAW has now given permission to 8,700 more members to walk off the job, which is great. Ford just admitted they're losing $48,000 a minute in revenue while that's happening, which is amazing, but they will still continue to hold out because it's all about disciplining labor. You just can't let people get anything, but unions are where the power is, even as flawed as they can be. Yeah.
But this is where the convergence is with healthcare, because the big fight is like they're willing to extend the pensions for these people, right? These auto companies already signaled that they'll give them the pensions, but they can't afford the healthcare after they leave their office, their work. And that's because healthcare is so fucked. So you need all these companies and everybody to get on board with universal healthcare that lifts the burden off of these companies, that lifts the burden off all the workers.
For them. It would be cheaper for the companies. But what it wouldn't do is make your employees feel beholden to you no matter how you treat them. And that's
because you could leave, you could argue for better benefits, you could make your entire existence better if you didn't have to have this bullshit, ridiculous coverage to pay for exorbitant fees that every other country anywhere near as established as the US has already changed.
Right. For decades.
Decades of universal healthcare coverage in other countries.
Yeah. All right. And then just quickly, and then I do think we should move on, but Kaiser Permanente workers win 21% raise over 4 years. And now there are 750 nurses in New Orleans are forming a union and joining national nurses. So, you know, those are positive moments. We should take those bits because we don't get many crumbs. So cheers to all the union.
Amen. And I want to say that positivity regarding unions is not going away. I mean,
right.
We're going to see more and more strikes. If you could point to a strike that didn't work recently, let me know. Put it in the comments, put it anywhere. Yeah. Everyone striking is gaining a lot of power because you have a lot of power. So you're getting a lot of benefits. You're getting, you know, so I don't know. I feel like something's going to happen soon that takes a big group. Maybe it's a United Autos worker strike.
Right.
And affects enough people, and enough people it's got to be something that affects the public a lot, like an airline strike or you know, something's going to be unmovable.
Like a rail workers
that could change
strike.
things. God damn it. But
Union
there's hope
Joe.
for that. There's hope for that because we're not going to lose that power in the next week. They can't take that power away from us.
Right.
So we got that.
All right. Are we going to spin it? What
Sure.
do you think?
What do we got?
Yeah, baby.
Well, that's probably important before we get to our last subject.
We're going to be the only podcast never talking about Israel.
I know. Well, I mean, yeah.
No, we're getting into that.
We're back. Here we go. Cheers to peace, for God's sakes.
Yeah, baby.
Oh my God.
You got some happy for us before we get into this Israel stuff?
All right. Let's find something. Jeez. Here. This is
Ahorita vine aquí a rescatar los que están hasta la madre desde ayer. Es que digo que me invitaron chingues, no les cayó.
Wait, what?
As a lady, she was fall down drunk. Didn't do it for you?
That was it?
That was
the whole
deal.
thing? Is that
Too
she's
fast.
fall down
I know.
drunk?
It's an 8. Okay, here's another guy, also wasted, but he's got business.
No, I love that you pulled. know what you're doing over here now.
He ate his shot.
He ate his shot.
All right.
The glass too? The whole thing?
It was a little paper, you know. All right. Well, we know what's next. So Israel. This started it started decades ago, 75 years ago now. But the ramping up really started 10 days ago. I know everybody knows this. So anyway, when Hamas parachuted into a rave that was very close to the open air concentration camp of Gaza and killed a few hundred Jewish, civilians who were there, which is despicable, of course. And I feel like with all of these things, we always sort of have to start so everybody knows that Pat and I both think that the destruction of human life is a violation of everything we stand for. So that was horrible.
Yeah, and the thing is, the public is so against Israel's bombardment of Palestine and years of basically an open prison for people who live there. It's a shame that Hamas didn't choose a better target. Like if the target was more the government in Israel,
right,
you would have a lot more sympathy. But having said that, when you keep people in cages, which is basically what they've done to Palestine for decades, you're going to have some gruesome outcomes, which we don't have to support, but we can understand somewhat. Right. I mean, not to condone the killing of civilians.
Well, just as the framing, to have it happen so close to the outbreak of Russia's unprovoked intrusion into Ukraine, to see right away that this was being called an unprovoked attack on the people who were occupying them, right? So not only is the situation with Ukraine and Russia wildly different from the situation between Palestinians and Israelis, but also the provocation was happening against Russia with the expansion of NATO, with 14,000 ethnic Russians in the Donbass region being slaughtered by the Ukrainian government. Like, those are provocations. The provocations here are that Palestinians are being slaughtered and kept in open air concentration camps. So, and when they try to, when they did the peaceful, unarmed right to return march in 2018, they were shot at indiscriminately by Israeli soldiers. There are reports of, of course, the IDF, mowing the lawn, just killing mass numbers of people indiscriminately. So, no, of course, Hamas is a terrorist group. And I think they've terrorized a good number of Palestinians as well. And Palestinians are not Hamas. But of course, you are going to have groups of people who, because of this situation, rise up. And like, what do you think a revolution is? How do you gain your freedom if you have been given you're not going to vote your way out of this, right? Like, whatever people think, how do we fix this situation?
Yeah, there's no.
Israel rejected the Arab Peace Initiative from 2004. Like, when does it happen?
You left these people no hope. And so when you have a huge population who is used to being treated like not just a second-class citizen, but like a fifth, like an animal, like less than an animal, is how these people are treated. You're going to have some of that population reflect that back to you, because that's the us versus you situation. So I'm not going to condone anything done. I'm just saying that's a reality, that some of these people are going to be the worst people, and some of these people are going to want the same vengeance and the same crimes that you commit against them done against you.
And you know, when you hear, and we're going to show clips, but you know, when you hear IDF soldiers or Israeli government officials saying we have a right to protect ourselves, and that justifies the wild imbalance of deaths that have occurred during the conflict over, even just from 2020, right? We've all seen this, sorry, my goodness. Well, I did have it all set up so well, and now I'm not going to be able to find it at all because we can't create folders here. But the imbalance of deaths, right? This is the imbalance of deaths. And when Israelis are called out on it, they say we have a right to protect ourselves. And that is going to excuse the fact that they have committed exponentially more death or murders. And we know that half of the people in Gaza are under 18, which means
it's mostly children and and so you've got these Israeli and US people supporting Israel in this effort coming out and saying, well, you should vote for a different form of government. You should not support Hamas. You should overturn Hamas. You should rise up and get Hamas out of your ranks. Meanwhile, Israel actually promoted Hamas over the alternatives.
Yes.
But regardless of that, most of these people in this country didn't vote.
Right.
So you can't,
it has nothing to do with it.
You cannot put that on them at all, which obviously is not a moral, doesn't make anything they've done, it doesn't justify anything. But
But sorry,
these people they didn't have a choice in Hamas. They didn't all vote and say, hey, Hamas, go commit an atrocity in another country. And then now we have to pay for it.
And let's not pretend that Palestine has a democracy the way we think we do. And even in this country, I couldn't rise up against George W. Bush or the first Bush or Obama or Trump or Biden, expecting children who go without clean water and electricity, except for now it's even worse, but for a couple hours a day, and have IDF soldiers helping settlers steal their homes and kill them as they play soccer on the beach. They have a lot that they're dealing with. They probably can't totally organize to get rid of Hamas, even if they wanted to. But my point before was when Israel says that's what's going to happen because we have to protect ourselves, we have to defend Israel. So yes, there's going to be collateral damage. You have to know that's going to go the other way also, and that there is going to be horrific violence from the other side because they also, and much worse, have been slaughtered by Israelis. So that feeling that Israel always says, we have to be able to protect ourselves, however possible, of course, there are going to be people who have been subjugated by them feeling exactly the same way towards Israel.
Right. And the people oppressed during all this, you have to hold them to a lesser standard because they are so powerless that even if you're in that country and you support what you know is a violent regime, you are the victims of being powerless in a war with a country that commits atrocities against you. So to me, there's no moral equivalency between someone in Israel supporting atrocities against Palestine and someone in Palestine, Gaza, saying, I support this group that's going to fight back. Now, that doesn't mean fight back through terrorist actions that you don't co-sign and agree to. But even the people that voted for Hamas probably did not vote for what just happened in Israel. And so to hold them all accountable for that group is not justifiable. And you could never justify killing innocent civilians. And that's the whole point of why for decades the UN and, well, not just UN, but all the human rights groups have pointed out that these are war crimes. And they would not get away with this if the US didn't
fund them,
condone them, and ignore them,
pay them
and
for it.
continue
give them,
to. We're financing all of these war crimes,
right?
And we're financing humanitarian aid to the people the war crimes are against,
right?
So we're putting a ridiculous amount of money into the worst things happening in the world,
right?
Instead of healthcare here, instead of,
but also instead of using power, Biden just this week said we're the most powerful country in the world, in the history of the world, not just right now, but in the history. We can definitely fund 2 wars and still be okay, which clearly we can't, because he and all of his comrades or whatever colleagues are destroying our country. But also, great, you're the most powerful country in the world. Use that power to help broker peace. Instead, they just ignored what was happening. Like there was no problem in the Middle East. Like Palestinians aren't being decimated by Israel. I mean, you cannot ignore a situation like that and just hope it will go away. And yet that's clearly what's been happening as Israel's expanded its territory and given Palestinians nothing but a sliver to live on, and even there to be treated horrifically. Okay. We should just, I thought this was interesting because I feel like, we've all heard about how it started. I'm just going to throw this in here because there are going to be some graphics that are really disturbing, but I thought this was a good answer to the people who said, why don't you give me a trigger warning, which was, can you put a trigger warning before posting about Palestine? No, because they're suffering a literal genocide. You're supposed to feel triggered. If you're triggered by hearing people talk about it, then imagine how the Palestinians are feeling as they live through it. So I'm putting that out there at the beginning because there are some pretty horrific.
It's our trigger warning.
Yeah.
Because there are some graphic images.
Yeah. Okay. So this was interesting. After some of the hostages taken by Hamas were, and of course Hamas did kill people, but also this hostage who was released, she survived when they went into a kibbutz. She survived, and she said that Israeli forces shot their own civilians. She said an Israeli woman who survived the Hamas assault on settlements near the Gaza boundary on the 7th of October says Israeli civilians were undoubtedly killed by their own security forces. It happened when Israeli forces engaged in fierce gun battles with Palestinian fighters in Kibbutz Be'eri and fired indiscriminately at both the fighters and their Israeli prisoners. They eliminated everyone, including the hostages, she told Israeli radio. There was very, very heavy crossfire and even tank shelling. The woman, 44-year-old mother of 3, named Yasmin Parat, said that prior to that, she and other civilians had been held by the Palestinians for several hours and treated humanely. She had fled the nearby Nova Rave. After, as these stories started coming out, Blinken stopped commenting further on the circumstances of some of the U.S. citizens who were killed during those first battles, the hostages who were killed. So I think that's probably illustrative of what they were discovering.
And it's really hard to know the truth on a lot of this stuff because there's a lot of propaganda. But what you can look at is the history of both sides of this war. There's no question, straight from the mouths of people in Israel, they want to wipe out Palestine. They don't want them there. They're not going to treat them humanely. They see them as second-class citizens at best. They justify, where's that quote? They justify the deaths of Palestinians. And this to me is just disgusting.
I grew up with this quotation from Golda Meir: we can forgive the Arabs for killing our children. We cannot forgive them for forcing us to kill their children. We will only have peace with Arabs when they love their children more than they hate us.
We can't forgive them for forcing us to kill their children. And that to me is that's the US response to this. We're condoning, like they're forcing our hand. There was the guy at the, I don't know, what's the UN? The war representative on TV was talking about the same thing. Like if this is on Hamas, all the people we kill accidentally, it's on Hamas.
Right. Yep.
Like,
yeah.
If there was a fight at our mall here and I just went down there with a gun and started shooting people and killed innocent civilians, not the people that I was going there to kill or whatever, I couldn't justify that as like, well, it's on the terrorists because I just opened fire on everybody because there were some terrorists there. So it's the terrorist's fault, you know?
And also, you know, this is all so horrifying, but now because there is social media, I think just like with police violence against Black communities, especially now with cell phones, I think a lot more people have really been made aware of something that's been happening for decades. And B'Tselem, which is, you know, a peace activist group in Israel, has published, you know, stories about how even in 1948, Israelis were poisoning water, the wells of Palestinians, how just in the last 20 years, Israelis will use Palestinian children as shields. I'm not saying, you know, it's just, this isn't to say that nothing horrible has happened from the other side.
Lila,
can you hear me?
You froze though. I hear you.
Oh my God, I can't.
That's all right. If you want to log out and come back.
Oh, okay, sorry.
We're all good. I'll keep it going with the timeline class. No, I'm going to get on a rant or something. Lila will be back shortly. So yeah, let's look at what the US is doing. So the US, we're supporting this right now, and this is where things are going to change a lot, I believe. Right now, 65% of the US supports this. But you have to understand this country has been propagandized like crazy. And I feel like recently, even the media has somehow gotten permission or is forced to, because there's so much honest attention, maybe from Twitter, who knows, but they're showing the atrocities in Palestine as well. So I think this number is going to change dramatically. I think the hype to get us into more wars after Ukraine, there is no tolerance for it. I don't think people are Lila is back, but I don't think people are as supportive of this stuff as they used to be. I think that 65% is going to drop down to under 50 in like a month. I think in a month from now, even it's going to drop.
I think it's going to drop.
Lila,
did you already? Yeah.
You pulled a Pat. Whoever had that up there.
I know that's funny. You know, the thing I was saying is that, of course, there have been horrifying things happening from the other side. I'm assuming we've heard about them my whole life. But now we are just sort of starting to hear more publicly about what Israelis and the IDF have done. And of course, they right now have been making a showing on cable news. And I think they've even been horrifying some of the anchors. So this was just a couple days ago.
Since Jewish people were killed on Saturday.
Well, we're going to target Hamas. And we're telling Hamas that if you use anyone as your human shield and you're going to shoot at us using human shields, that it's their responsibility. Listen, mister, if someone is shooting at your children and hiding behind a human shield, will you shoot back or not? I'm asking you a question. Someone's shooting at your children, but hiding behind civilians. What's the answer? What would you do?
Mr. Bennett, I'm not here to answer your questions. I've asked you your questions and you have not answered them directly. All right, we'll stop. We'll leave it there. Naftali Bennett.
Eradicate Hamas.
All right, we'll have much more on this after the break.
I love that he handled it that way, because that sums it up, and it's just such an excuse.
It is such an excuse. then on, I think CNN, talking about collective punishment.
But does that mean, does that mean starve the Palestinian people, continue to, because they will be so hungry and will be so desperate for water and medicine that then they will give up Hamas?
It sounds callous, but I mean, this is a war.
Yeah, so that's not going to happen. It is a crime against humanity. It is a genocide. And Israel's being called out on it. They are losing on the world stage. Just today, the U.S. was the only one who rejected a UN Security Council resolution for a ceasefire. And so when the U.S. ambassador to the UN stood up to speak, dozens of people stood up and turned their backs on her. One of the most horrific lies that happened after the initial Hamas attack was a reporter for, what was she the reporter for? Sorry, I thought I had this in my brain and it's not. A reporter for
I-24 News.
Was she? Yeah, I-24 News. Okay, said, soldiers told me they believe 40 babies, children were killed. The exact death total is still unknown. Then that was then taken. So not only did she not see anything, she took an IDF soldier's word for it, and he didn't even say, he said he believed. After that, there was from the Israeli army telling the news outlet Anadolu English that there was no confirmation. That did not stop Biden from lying and saying that he had seen it with his own eyes. He had confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children, and the White House spokesperson had to walk that back. So all of that is horrible because there were children who died. Like, death is bad enough, but then you have to think about what is the reason to say that Hamas had beheaded babies to make them even more despicable and repugnant.
Yeah, it's justifying atrocities back at them. Like, they look at how barbaric they are. So look at us. We try not to blow them up, but if we happen to blow up some civilians, at least we're not as barbaric as chopping off heads. And that's it.
So it's now been 11 days. They have not been able to show any proof, not a single morsel of proof. So,
but for the president of the most powerful country on earth that ever existed, yada yada, to go out there and spread a lie like that, like, it's not an accident. He didn't accidentally say that he saw the babies. It wasn't a gaffe. It wasn't a whoops, I overstated it. It puts that out into the ether and becomes the narrative.
That's right.
That this is what's happening. They're so barbaric that they're chopping off babies' heads. We got to stop them at all costs.
And I saw that repeated for days by, people on Facebook with no proof. However, on the other side, and this is where some images are really horrible, but I do think it's important to know the difference. This is a report. And here's the other thing. There are no U.S. reporters or actually any journalists allowed into Gaza right now. So everything is just getting filtered from the Israeli government to reporters who are in Israel.
Who can't confirm anything other than allegations of all this stuff, like everything, including, I mean, we debated showing the hospital bombing, but like, all of our information has come from Israel that we know is lying about this stuff, and we know that they're the bad guys in the situation in the big picture.
So this is in Gaza. It is a reporter in Gaza. at a hospital. This was about 5 days ago.
The Israeli warplanes attacked airstrikes a home that belonged to Abu Jbara family located in Deir al-Balah in southern Gaza. We saw whole families. I myself saw children, at least 10 children under the age of 5 with their heads cut off, their bodies. If you can see around me, we can still see the ambulances arriving to the Shuhada al-Aqsa hospital, mostly women, mostly children. I mean, this is undescribable. This is like a massacre.
And, you know, I have graphic pictures of, I'm not even going to show them, but of fathers coming with their children beheaded, and also holding parts of their kids' bodies in bags. So if Israel could find the proof that Hamas did that to their to any children of theirs, we would be seeing it everywhere, and we haven't.
Exactly. That would be the front and center. If they had one picture, that one picture would be released to the public right now.
Because the 40 beheaded children made it around the world repeatedly, even though it was a lie.
But so, I mean, that does bring up the bigger issue is why would you lie about this beheading situation? And you would lie because you're about to commit you are committing massive atrocities and war crimes against these people. And the only way you can gin up some fake public support for it is if you can show how evil that other side is. And then it becomes this, well, we're supporting the lesser evil. I don't condone what Israel's doing.
Right.
Biden can come out and say, oh, I don't condone, you know, we tell them we don't support violence.
And they're doing their best to try. That's what they always say. We're doing our best to try to avoid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all of those lies come out. Israel tries its best to avoid civilian populations, which is also, you know, Hamas is not like a government-run military, right? They don't have a platoon station. So they are operating in civilian areas. But so every time Israel bombs a hospital, and I know, you know, the last update I saw before I sort of had to focus just on the show was, and I don't know if there's been an update, but that the bombing of the hospital yesterday, which one of the Israeli government officials, right away said, well, Hamas was there, so we leveled that hospital. Took credit for it right away. And then when there was some outrage, walked it back and said it was a rocket from Hamas that caused that damage to the hospital. Then there were a lot of people who pointed out that Hamas does not have the kind of rocket power that would level a hospital. That was one thing. The other thing was the Israeli government was showing video proof. They wanted to show that it was coming from Hamas. And it was pointed out that the rocket, the timestamp on the video they were showing as proof was 30 minutes after the explosion had actually happened. So that made a pretty clear-cut case for most people that it was a rocket from Israel that destroyed and killed 500 people. Today, we woke up to see that it was the parking lot and not the hospital that had been destroyed, and that the crater created by the rocket or the bomb was not as big as what we all thought it would have been if it had come from the IDF. So, you know, that is where you say the fog of war. I don't know, and possibly in the last, 6 hours, 7 hours, there has been an update. No matter what, right. It's a horrible tragedy.
But I think what people need to understand in this situation is that you've got 2 million people or so in Gaza in a the most condensed population probably on earth, people living in squalor. And so when you bomb any target whatsoever in this country, it's indiscriminate and you're killing civilians.
Right.
And so you've got Israel that says they have this, Bibi has always bragged about how much they have all this technology. They're tracking all the people.
Yeah.
And it's so targeted and blah,
Right.
blah, blah. They didn't see this attack coming, which involved all these people digging.
And they were warned, by the way, by Egypt. Yeah.
But massive tunnels and all this stuff. And so you're going to tell me these people that couldn't see this tunnel attack going have intelligence to know where these targets are.
Right.
They don't. They're just bombing indiscriminately on anything they can. And they're, I mean, I guess we didn't cover it, but people have read, they sent a message to these people to leave Gaza in a day, and then they gave them a 4-hour notice on Twitter. They're like, a tweet, well, you've cut off the power. These people don't have water. They're not following a Twitter message about leaving an area. And Gaza says, well, they put out, paper notices and things. They're just bombing indiscriminately, which is the bottom line in this country.
They told them to evacuate.
You look at how destroyed Gaza is.
Yeah.
These are not targeted attacks.
No.
They want to genocide all the people, get them out of here. I think they also see that the tide is turning on the public support for their war.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, this is like I kind of think their last opportunity to commit the genocide that they want to commit. And so I think we're getting pulled into what's going to be an awful, awful situation that's nothing like what's happened in the past, because they have the U.S. support right now.
Yeah.
And because of the U.S. support, which is changing,
right,
they can get away with this now. Like, this is their window to be evil.
Yeah. Amnesty International has been posting, as well as World Health Organization, Human Rights Watch, all of the different war crimes, excuse me, including telling people to evacuate a hospital, which you can't do without a massive loss of life, telling people to evacuate to a hospital and then bombing a hospital, telling people that they would clear and make a safe passage and then bombing that exact area.
If they didn't bomb the hospital, why did you tell everyone to leave the hospital?
Yep. I mean, yeah.
Why would you tell people to leave a hospital? Like, what is your rationality for that? What is the moral reason for that? Because you have to leave the hospital because it's underneath it is a tunnel or something.
Right.
Where do these people go? This is not abstract. Like, where do they go? Like, tell us where those people should go. Where should the people in the hospital that have half a day to leave a hospital go when there's no care anywhere? No water.
And also, they gloated and boasted about it at the beginning. And that's not the only hospital that they've attacked. So, this has been going on now. There are video of settlers urinating on dead Palestinian bodies. It's just a horror show. And because the tide is turning, anybody who is at all pro-Palestinian, not pro-Hamas, but pro-Palestinian, is now suffering consequences.
They're trying to make it the same.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly,
pro-Palestine.
Exactly.
You support the atrocities Hamas committed. Period.
So let's see, in the UK, in France, in Israel, and here with Josh Hawley, they are trying to make protest illegal. If you are protesting for peace or if you're pro-Palestinian, there was a small window where 3 Muslim anchors were suspended by MSNBC. They have since been reinstated. People who are journalists, more independent journalists, who have been booked to come on to national shows have now refused to either bring them on or canceled or not posted their interviews. Mint Press, one of the journalists for Mint Press News, has had her video explaining the history of Gaza taken down. Then there's, on a smaller level, this person wrote an op-ed. Is this, I think, in the New York Times, but I can't even see or remember. Don't hire my anti-Semitic law students because they are advocating for Palestinian people and peace.
Yeah, I read that article. It was like, oh, it's the easiest choice ever to not hire them.
Because you're pro-Palestine, because you want to stop a genocide. Another law firm, David Polk, rescinded letters of employment for 3 law students from Harvard and Columbia because they had signed on to organizational efforts, protests for Palestine. Starbucks is suing its union after a solidarity with Palestine tweet. And then this to me is the most jaw-droppingly, the Israeli government account, which is on the right there, is tweeting out to Gigi Hadid, who is Palestinian, who did not say anything about Hamas and supporting Hamas, but just pro-Palestinian. They're going to, now they're in the middle of ravaging people who haven't already been ravaged, the remaining, and that's how they're spending their time, is calling out a celebrity in the US.
I mean, they're going to use it to ramp up censorship. That's what they always do.
Yeah.
And that's the end goal with a lot of this. Not the war itself, but capitalism and the way our government is now, it's not even capitalism. It's set up to just keep things going, keep the motor running. Like the motor running is just taking money from the bad people and have people, not organize, not fight. We have less voice in everything. That's the whole goal. I don't want to bring this too far back to electoral politics because it's kind of diminishes this whole thing because electoral politics is so powerless, but maybe that's how we get to our normie centrist Dem friends,
Right.
Maybe we get them to realize what's going on in Israel. And do you support that? Like, this is one thing we shouldn't support. So,
I have to tell you, I don't think your normie Dem friends are up for this conversation. They become hysterical. It goes right back to the Holocaust and you can't have a conversation about it. Where do you want Jews to go? Why don't the other Arab nations take them in?
I don't know. Honestly,
Really?
I think it might depend on who you're talking to.
Okay.
Obviously not everyone, but
Right.
like my boss, for example, black guy, doesn't want us involved in any of these wars,
Right.
Like that's the thing that finally gets him to understand,
Right.
what the fuck, at least he's coming into work offering to me, at least Trump didn't do X stuff.
Right.
Which is not it's scary. It should scare people because it means this guy's he's realizing probably a truth that we would be maybe safer under that fucking shitbag who's going to be in jail probably.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the public, you got to hit people where they are with certain things. And
Yeah.
I think it's obvious to a lot of people that we're not in the right on this. And I think it's
Right.
going to change. And that's an opportunity to say things are fucked, wake people up.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, vote for Colonel West because of it and we're going to change the world. It just means here's a thing that's pretty clear. If you take a look at it and read on your own, If you get people to pay a little bit of attention, maybe you change something.
There was a great, I think he's a comedian and I think he's Egyptian, Bassem Youssef. He was on Piers Morgan. He had some great responses. We have a couple of short clips that I would just love to show.
To see how they do this without massive collateral damage.
So if I can understand this correctly, basically Israel is doing this to pressure the Palestinian community in Gaza to turn against Hamas. Is that right?
I'm sure that's part of it, yes.
That's part of it. So this is exactly what terrorist organizations do, because terrorist organizations will have no chance beating a whole nation in battle. So they terrorize and they kill the civilians in order to spread fear and terror so they can turn against their government to change their policy or to resign. You have just compared Israel with ISIS.
No, I haven't. I don't see any comparison between
It's
Israel
going to be
and
the
ISIS.
headlines tomorrow. Piers Morgan,
no,
Israel is ISIS.
Only amongst people who weren't listening. The comparison, which is more apposite, is...
And then he had another one on the beheadings I just want to show. It's also short.
But when you say decapitated 40 babies, you are planting a certain image
Well, who
with
has
a
said
certain
that? trigger in
people's mind.
Who has said that? Who has said 40?
Who has said that?
Who has said that?
40 decapitated.
Who has said
you
that?
You have repeated.
No, I haven't.
What?
I've never said that.
You haven't said on your show 40 decapitated babies?
I choked up earlier reading this new revelation about 40 babies being killed.
Oh my God.
And some of them being beheaded. And I was like, how can any human being do that to a baby? Never.
How can any human being do that to a baby? Yeah. Pretty bleak. I will say that the protests in our country and around the world, the pro-Palestinian protests have been enormous. I think, in the US, there have been a lot that have been led by Jews, I think, as a signal that it is not anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist and pro-Palestinian. In fact, it goes towards everything I, as a Jewish person, was raised to believe. And when we say never again, it's not just about Jews, that we're saying that there should never be another Holocaust. And what we're witnessing right now is just so beyond words. But so I have been heartened to see so many people coming out. And I do think that the tide is turning. That there's so much suffering that is going to happen before people are saved. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we just have to keep speaking up and calling out our own government's place in all this. And honestly, with the US not condoning all this, they don't get away with it.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Raise hell.
Raise hell. Raise hell. I know Cori Bush is trying to get a ceasefire started, and even former staffers on J Street are lobbying to pressure the US, because you're right, without our money funding them and approving them and Biden going over there and, shaking hands and hugging Netanyahu, this would not be happening. So keep raising hell.
Is that our cheery ending?
That's our cheery ending. It feels a little strange to go out on a timeline cleanse, so I don't think we should do that.
I think for tonight, for this week, we just end the show. And, please don't support Democrats who have no balls in this matter. Don't support anybody who is placating. Like John Fetterman is out there. He's out there. He's a lefty, allegedly.
Yeah.
Same propaganda. I don't know. I don't know what to tell people, but what we can do is bring attention to this. If you can convince any of your normie friends what's going on over there, if you can educate a few people on any of it, that's the best we can probably do right now. So join a protest, spread awareness.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And never again for anyone. Cheers. Keep punching up. We'll see you all next week. Thanks.
Until next week.
Until next week.